Hello and welcome to Sideways. This week we're talking about how irritated and frustrated we get when we're held up in our attempts to make progress, and how finding a way to let go and allow things to unfold in their own time is often a great benefit to us. We also discuss memories of being struck by falling debris and a way of getting to Norway without paying, whether you want to or not. Patience.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing?
I'm all right. Oh, you look as if you were holding the microphone there, and the way you're talking sounds as if you're about to do some stand-up.
I'm not in the mood for that, to be honest.
Aren't you? Oh, what's that?
No, you've been testing my patience, waiting around for so long to get to do this recording.
That's very good. That's your first segue of the afternoon, isn't it? It
is my first segue, and very. Well, I think I quite enjoyed it.
Well, I mean, I facilitated it. If I hadn't kept you waiting, you wouldn't have been able to use it, would you? So actually, it's all thanks to me, as usual.
Well, I think you're showing narcissistic tendencies there, which we've already dealt with in previous episodes, I'm sure.
I think we've done narcissism.
I'm not sure if we have. We touched on it last week, I think, with gaslighting. Yeah,
but gaslighting isn't the preserve of the narcissist.
It's not, but we did touch on it. But I've had a bit of feedback about that. How people enjoyed it, and I've had a couple of people actually said they've watched the 1940 film.
Oh, really?
And thought it was a nice little timepiece.
I started watching it, but I haven't finished it. It's quite difficult for me to get through an entire film.
Oh, you're too impatient. That's your problem.
Well, that's not really. I don't know if that's impatience. Maybe we're going to cover this. I'm not sure that's impatience, or I think that's more about attention span.
Could be. It could well be. They're probably related in some way, but I think patience. I mean, as a subject, it's something we'll get tested with at some point, isn't it? By the people around them.
You test mine all the time.
People like you. Well, I was going to come on to that. Yeah, I mean, you've tested mine today already as a perfect illustration. But yeah, society in general can test us, can't it?
It can.
Or even ourselves. We test our own patience sometimes.
Well, that's also an interesting observation, because I think probably the more, in some respects, the more we realise that we're testing our own patience, perhaps the easier it is to deal with that. Do you think?
I do, yeah. I think it is identifying it, and I'll come on to that later on.
Because when I was thinking about things that make me impatient, particularly things that are irrational, I noticed that if I am able to recognise that it's actually not about the person or the dog that is making me impatient, it's actually about my own kind of impulse control problems, and I think recognising that tends to calm me down a little bit. But I expect I'm jumping around a bit now and beginning to annoy you, aren't I?
You are a little bit, because I wanted to do it before we start, but you've tried to push on into the meat of it. So I want to drag you back to the before we start.
I've got a before we start as well.
Okay. Did you want to go first?
All right. Have you ever been hit by falling debris?
I've been. I don't think I have. I know my younger brother Paul did. He got hit by some falling guttering when my dad was doing the extension.
Plastic, I hope. Not the old lead guttering.
Which I remember laughing at the time.
So I only asked because obviously last week one of the things we were talking about was the storm damage.
Yeah. And
the day afterwards, I was walking the dogs with my sister, and my sister was telling me about how a bit of her roof came off, bit of the chimney came down, and we were talking about how fortunate it was that there was no one in the front garden, because obviously they'd been crushed by this cement.
Yeah.
And we got into a wider conversation about falling debris, and she said something that really made me laugh. She said she was once hit by a leaf that was quite painful.
That must be a hell of a leaf, mate.
Well, it's funny because I didn't really seek any further information, because I was helpless from laughing about the idea of being struck by a leaf and it being quite painful. But then it reminded me, when I started thinking about falling debris, I was thinking about, I suppose you could class this as falling debris. I was thinking about Yem being hit by an eaten corn on the cob.
That was at the Reading Rock Festival, wasn't it? Where it came flying through the air and caught him squarely on the bridge of the nose, which did make us laugh. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, there we are.
Yeah, not really debris, but it's a being hit by a strange object story.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sort of fits in.
It's debris, isn't it? It's just not. It's not really falling. It's been thrown.
It has, yeah.
It's a projectile, isn't it?
It was a projectile. I didn't mean to hit Yem, probably. It's just random. It just happened to be him as he popped his head up, and there it went bang.
Yeah, it would be less funny if someone had tried to hit him.
It would have been, yeah. If it was a deliberate attempt.
Anyway, there we are.
Anyway, my before we start is it's more related to what we're talking about here, because it's person involved in this had to show. It's a little anecdote, but they had to show a bit of some patience in this particular scenario. And it was a little story that Dave from one of the new guys that's come to group, he's given my permission to use his name and the story.
Right.
But he works for a company that deals with ferries and cruise ships that come into dock.
Right.
He deals with all the documentation, seeing them in and out and that sort of thing. He's been quite busy with COVID checks and that sort of thing recently. And he recently popped onto a ferry down in Dover, which then subsequently raised the gangplank and started its journey with him still on it. He was still on board. Now, he couldn't then get off until their next scheduled stop, which was 5 days later in Tromsø in Norway. So he had to. They did fly. They flew him home apologetically, but he had to show a bit of patience there. I've been trying to explain that one to the wife.
Yeah, that would be seen as a bit of a tall story, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah.
Although aside from the impressive nature of the story itself, I was also impressed by the alliteration that's possible there. You've got Dave, who does documentation in Dover.
Yeah. I didn't notice that, but I'm glad you've joined the dots on that one. Yeah.
I've never been to Norway. I'd quite like that. I'd quite like to get stuck on a ferry that was going to Norway.
Yeah, I would. But I think from what I understand, it was one of those like science experimentation trips. They had a lot of scientists and that on board talking stuff. They looked after him quite royally and treated him well. And
he wouldn't have had any gear with him, would he?
He wouldn't have had any.
He wouldn't have had any stuff to change into.
No. He luckily had his passport. Otherwise he'd have trouble getting home as well.
5 days in the same clobber.
Yeah. You just turn the pants inside out, upside down, and you're away, aren't you?
Well, I know that's what you do anyway, but
anyway, another D to keep the alliteration going is definition. The definition of patience.
Okay.
When you look it up, it describes it as the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, problems, or suffering without becoming annoyed or anxious. Which is, I thought, fair. It was also reminding me that we used to call a card game we used to play as kids called Patience, which I think became sort of solitaire now, isn't it? And it's used that. So that did come up on there as well. But we'll stick with the first definition. Otherwise, the rest of my notes are irrelevant.
I wonder why was that game called Patience? I wonder, because does it require patience? I mean, you just...
I think it required patience to actually do it enough times where you actually won to get it out, wasn't it, to get all the cards out.
Right. I'll tell you what requires patience, a jigsaw. That needs patience, doesn't it?
It does. And we've done one on jigsaws a long time ago. Many months ago we did one on jigsaws. I can't remember why we did one on jigsaws, but... We
did. We've never actually done a jigsaw, though, have we?
Not together. Is that what you're trying to suggest?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I've always done it very much as a solo mission.
So that's maybe something we could try at some point in the future.
Doing a jigsaw. Well, I'm sure there will be as long as it is the picture we're trying to create is good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we could take one of my paintings and make it into a jigsaw.
We could do that. I mean, yeah, be a 2-piece jigsaw. It'd be nice.
You'd still struggle with it.
Get it upside down. Yeah, you probably would. Yeah. Anyway, getting back to what we wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Obviously, I did my normal research into this, into patience.
You watched a film?
I didn't watch a film, no, but I did some research. It led me to this. It was someone called Sarah Schnittke. She produced a a paper called The Journal of Positive Psychology. This was back in 2012, but it sort of it outlines it quite nicely as to where we're going on this. And she said that there's 3 types of scenario that would require you to respond either patiently or impatiently.
Okay.
So she's setting these out. The first one was sort of life hardships, like if you face, say, chronic illness or disability or something you have to deal with over the long term.
Yeah.
So you've got to be patient there, obviously.
So patience in terms of kind of coming to terms with it and engineering your life. Yeah. That makes sense. Mm-hmm.
It does make sense. The second one she pointed out was interpersonal interactions, which was, settling a conflict or a struggle with a spouse or a friend or child or
waiting
parent,
for them to get ready
as well. Any sort of patience, it can be tested at certain times if you're in conflict, isn't it? It's try and get a resolution.
Yeah.
And the third one was she put down as daily hassles, simple things like traffic jams or flight delays. One of the things you put down there was tangled necklaces, which I haven't come across that one. I haven't been stretched by that one particularly, but earphones, they always used to get tangled up. I mean, I know we've got sort of wireless Bluetooth earbuds these days, but the other ones with the wires on, we're always getting messed up. They're terrible to try and keep in the right order.
That's made me think about how I don't know how I got this kind of reputation, but when my children were very small, they had it in their head. I probably put it in their heads that if anything was tangled or knotted, I could always get the knots undone.
Okay.
And something strange happened with regard to that, because whereas I would previously have been very frustrated with something that was kind of full of knots, because my children thought that I could undo them, I would sit there with sufficient patience in order to do it, because I didn't want to disabuse them of that belief. So there you go. Perhaps other people's belief in you can also help your patience.
It probably can.
You're such a patient person.
Yeah. If someone's
looking more patient.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, if you're getting praise for your patience, it's going to boost it, isn't it?
I would have thought so, yeah.
So you never failed at that then?
No, Beth used to say, I can't remember if she said the only knots I couldn't undo were God's knots, or whether I could also undo God's knots. I can't remember. I'll have to ask her later.
God's knots?
Well, the knots that God ties on the basis that they'd probably be the most difficult to untie.
Oh, right, okay.
If you are of religious persuasion.
Well, quite. I mean, if he gets involved in knots, then he's got a lot to answer for sometimes.
I mean, he's not the only deity that could be responsible for knots. Any other god.
Yeah.
I would think would probably be quite adept at tying very tricky knots.
There's plenty to choose from. Yeah. I'd imagine back in the sort of Roman or Greek times, they may well have had a specific god of knots who did exactly that. Yeah. They used to allocate them out in those days, didn't they?
I would have thought so, yeah. I don't know who the god of knots is.
No. We'll have to look that up. But surely it does.
Ken Dodd?
Ken Dodd. He always from Knotty Ash, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Not much of a god in my eyes, but anyway. Now, what this lady also, Sarah Schnittke, also goes on to say, just because you tend to be patient in one of these categories that we looked at just a moment ago, doesn't mean you're going to be patient in all of them. And there always tends to be something that would generally get to the point where it is going to test their patience. And she also went on to say, which was quite thought provoking, really, that she tries to explain how personality plays a role in why some of us tend to respond to life's delays and setbacks with more calm than others. Mm-hmm. And she was quoting the studies that have been done into this area showed that people that were more conscientious or agreeable or open to new experiences tended to have more patience. And if you had fewer of those traits, the more likely you are to be impatient. Yeah. What do you think of that then?
Well, that's new news for me, but it sounds perfectly reasonable, actually.
It does.
Because the notion of being open-minded, what were the other things she said tended to...
those are the people that were more conscientious. and
Right.
agreeable. I mean, that can be interpreted in a number of ways, but open to new experiences, tend to be more
So
patient.
if you're conscientious, agreeable, and open to new experiences, then conscientious people are quite good at concentration.
Yeah.
And so, focus, which tends to be a kind of component in patience. Agreeableness is obviously going to help you be patient because you're not going to want to get upset with someone. You're more likely to say to yourself, it's unreasonable to be upset here. Come on, just chill out, wait for them, or whatever it might be. That makes perfect sense, really.
All sorts of lines up, doesn't it? But she also quoted other predictors, she called them, which would, I suppose, it would affect their ability to be patient or otherwise. And one of them was the habits that we develop.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what habits she would be referring to, but it strikes me that certainly certain pastimes and interests would probably make you more patient.
Yeah, they would, wouldn't they? If you love jigsaws, I would say earlier on, you'd be quite happy to do 1,000-piece one that take you hours and hours and days and days.
Exactly. You can get kind of immersed in it and lost in your own thoughts, which creates its own kind of patience, doesn't it?
It does. And other predictors were the ability to regulate emotions or our expectations. I think that's quite an important one.
Very much so.
Which is going to have a big effect on whether you're going to be patient or impatient in a certain set of circumstances, isn't it?
Well, that's really what I was referring to earlier when I said, if something's making me impatient and I'm able to recognize and point out to myself that actually it's me failing to regulate my emotions effectively, then it tends to help me calm down. I'll give you a very mundane but good example of this.
Okay.
If I'm walking along the road with Daisy, the dog, in the evening when she tends to be quite tired, she wants to sniff everything.
Okay.
Every tree, every post, every gate, every bit of wall. And it can be a bit laborious. But if I start to get a little bit frustrated, I just say to myself, well, that's the way she makes sense of the world. So it's not her fault. She's just doing what dogs do. It's me either not leaving myself enough time to get where I'm going or, whatever it might be. And that, I think that does tends to help me feel somewhat better about it, even though I still don't get where I'm going any quicker.
No, that leads us on to the next point about situational variables that affect our patients. One of which is quoted as being overtired or ill or hungry or stressed.
Yeah, I try not to be any of those things: hungry, stressed, ill and tired.
Well, I think we'll try to avoid them, but it reminds me of the acronym HALT that we use in recovery. The hungry, angry, lonely and tired. They're emotions that we always look as being a predictor of a relapse. So it's a very similar sort of thing. I think it's where you situational variables can make it quite tough for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'd certainly say that in my experience, working with addicts tend to be pretty impatient.
Totally. We admit that. It's something that comes up in groups quite a lot. We're very aware that is an issue, and it's something that does recovery does bring back into some sort of shape. Yeah, it is something we work on. That's for sure. It
comes up because and again, this makes perfect sense, but if you're in recovery and you happen to be doing some therapy, then the things you identify as aspects of yourself or your life that you struggle with, you want to suddenly fix them. It's like it almost doesn't matter to people if they've been 30 years in the making or 50 years in the making. It's like, I know I've been doing this all my life, but I want to suddenly stop it right now.
You do, and it's strange because we're used to getting quick hits. I think that's what we chase as addicts. We want something quickly, and the further you get into your addiction, the worse it gets. Then which is why we will end up on sort of the strongest sort of spirits you can get hold of, because you need it and you need it quickly. So it stems from that impatience as well. Yeah, but and it is a bit of a slow burner addiction, so it can take a long time before you get into real problems, and it's a slow burner coming out of it as well. It takes a while to come out. We would love to have a sort of a magic bullet and bang, it's done and away we go and we're cured. But we know that isn't the case. This lady also goes on to say that she reckons that we're all on a patient spectrum, which is probably right. I think you can put anything on a spectrum, really, can't you? Because we're all different.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to say that we're all on some sort of patient spectrum, because if we weren't, then the inference would be that some people have patience and other people don't have any.
Yeah.
And of course, that's nonsense. We all have situations in which we feel impatient, and we all find ourselves able to, tolerate hold-ups and so on in other aspects of life.
But some other points she comes up with is that impatience doesn't seem to be productive in any scenario. Yeah, that's fair enough, isn't it? But then she says that, obviously there's no way that you can avoid all the situations or any of the situations that may potentially trigger impatience, but you can control your response. And I think that's what I wanted to go on to, really, as to how we deal with this when we're feeling our patience being stretched. She points out 3 steps.
To heaven?
3 steps to heaven. Is that, are there only 3?
Wasn't that the song, 3 Steps to Heaven?
Yeah, I'm trying to think, was it Shawadi Waddy? I think you're right, yeah.
Step 1, you find a girl to love. Step 2, she falls in love with you.
Yeah.
Step 3, you kiss and hold her tightly.
And that's it. You've achieved nirvana at that point. There you are.
Then you're in heaven. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Anyway, you're dragging me off subject. These 3 steps for coping with impatience. The first one, she says, is to identify when you're impatient and what emotions you're feeling at that point, either angry, sad, rejected, or anxious, because there's several different emotions that can lead us to impatience, and therefore, if you identify which one is controlling you at that point, you're in a better position to deal with it. Would you say that's good? Good advice?
Absolutely spot on. It's exactly the same way that you deal with procrastination.
Okay, yeah, which we've also done an episode on.
And procrastination, if you think about it, is actually being over patient.
Yeah, with yourself.
Correct.
Yeah.
So what you're doing, procrastination is not about avoiding the task; it's about avoiding the emotion. And impatience is the same thing, is what she's saying, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
When I was doing this research, I was learning stuff myself. I thought, this is good because I'm learning some bits and pieces. And the second one I quite liked because it tells you to reframe how you think about the situation. Remember, whatever's triggering your impatience many times isn't about you. For example, we've all been there. When you jump on a train and it's packed in the morning and you can't find a seat. That was not deliberate to affect you. It's just how it worked out. I think there's lots of scenarios like that where we can take it way too personally, and it's not about us. It's just how it is, which really leads quite nicely on to point 3, when she says to remember the bigger picture perspective. It's not the end of the world. And to quote Gandhi at this point, to lose patience is to lose the battle. So I squeezed a little bit of Gandhi in at some point in this episode, which I'm pleased with.
Yeah, you're in danger of forcing in a Gandhi quote just because it's Gandhi, aren't you?
I am really, yeah. I am. But there's another quote which isn't attributed to him, but and it's one I've used in the past. Is patience is bitter, but the fruit is sweet, which I quite like. So I think
I don't ever remember you using that one.
I've used it in groups.
Well, I haven't been in groups, have I?
No, you haven't, and you wouldn't be welcome. But
I'm busy anyway. I can't come.
Can't come. No, you don't need to. But I quite like it. I think it sums it up. Something which as to why you should work on being a more patient person.
Do you use that quote as much as you use the phrase "the fertile void"?
I don't use that anymore. I sort of I did use it. But that's why it's quite nice when you get new people come in, because you can crank over the old sayings and it's new to them. So you don't have to reinvent yourself each time.
But do you notice the people who've been there a long time sniggering behind their hands?
Oh, you see the eyes rolling a lot, yeah.
Very good.
But that's about me this week, mate. That is about me. I've learnt a lot myself this week doing the research, so I'm quite pleased with it.
Do you think you've become more patient?
Well, I thought I had until you kept saying we can't do the recording at 11. It might have to be later on. Then it's going to be later on. And then we come to 2 o'clock. And but I reframed the situation. I looked at the bigger picture and I was happy after all. So yeah, I'm all right.
I was going to ask you a question there.
Is it relevant?
Yeah, I was going to ask you what do you think it is? This might be kind of too broad a question, really.
Okay.
But I'm wondering, what do you think it is that enables that shift into becoming more patient when people move from active addiction into recovery? Because it's quite an important shift, isn't it?
It is a big shift, and I think
you said a big shit there, didn't you?
Did I? I mean, it could be. I mean, it could well be. It's a shitty old place you get yourself into in addiction, that's for sure.
I really hope you did say a big shit, because if you did, I'm definitely leaving it in.
You putting that in there, yeah. Well, it sounded like that, but I think I did actually say shift. It was just a bit of noise on the line. Actually, I can't even remember the question now. I don't.
I was basically asking you when someone moves out of active addiction into recovery.
Yeah,
they're going from a place of probably not having any patience.
Yeah.
To somewhere where they really need to practice patience. What do you think it is that enables them to make that transition?
I think the biggest, it's an evolution, really. Because it just starts.
They've got to have patience in terms of developing.
Yes, you have. Yeah, right. It becomes naturally to you when you put down the drink and drugs.
Right.
Your mind starts to change, and I think that sometimes I don't want to get political, but the underfunded nature of dealing with addiction problems means that you've got to show a great deal of patience to get signposted to the correct people and to start the process going. And it can take an awful long time, and especially to deal with any other associated mental health conditions, it can take forever. And so you do have to learn that patience is the only way through this, and it's not going to be a quick fix. But it's just listening to others that have done the same thing and saying, this is normal. You know, this shift is going to take a little bit of time. Stick with it and you'll be fine. But it will take a little bit. So it's having it reframed for you by other people sometimes, which is why peer support groups work so well.
Okay, I'm glad I asked.
Was that a bit of a overly verbose response to that then?
No, it was fine. I had enough patience to tolerate listening to it.
We've all learned something, haven't we? Unless there's any other questions that you've suddenly thought of to try and put me on the spot, I'm quite happy to move on to gratitude.
What's the fastest land mammal?
The cheetah.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
No, I haven't got any others.
Okay. So what is there anything you particularly found that you're happy to put on your gratitude list this week?
Well, I know this is a pretty obvious one, but it is true. I feel grateful this week that I'm currently able to wake up and walk about without missiles flying into buildings above my heads and tanks on the streets.
I was going to have exactly the same one when I was thinking about this, but not living in that sort of environment.
Yeah, awful. I mean, I know. Obviously, it's a terrible situation. It makes a lot of people very anxious, and I've been noticing that even already in clients. But I think it is, one of the mitigations for that, if people do feel anxious about that, is to get out and remind yourself that certainly as things stand at the moment, we're fortunate enough not to be in that position. So
yeah, we are, and it does make you feel dreadfully sorry for those people that are caught up in a war in Europe, which we didn't think we'd ever see again. But here we are.
Yeah.
So yes,
I'm sorry I brought the tone down.
Well, it makes my gratitude quite. I think it's still very significant because I'm grateful this week we've had a couple of new volunteers that come on board to help run our Zoom meetings.
Nice.
Which is. We're trying to work it out because it's been mainly the three of us, myself, Aaron and Gareth, that have been running the meetings for the last couple of years. So this is every night. So, it's over 700 meetings.
Wow.
So it's taken up quite a large chunk of our time, really. We always have rules about who can come on and facilitate. You can't just someone that just comes to groups and they get involved. So, but it's nice that people that have volunteered that have met the criteria and are able to come along. So we've got Justin and we've got Sarah, which is lovely. And it's, from my point of view, not only does it perhaps relieve some of the pressure on us three that have been running them, but I remember when I was first able to start facilitating, it boosted my self-esteem and it aided my recovery immeasurably. So I'm really pleased that these two have come on board with us, and it will help them immensely. And it'll help others. So I'm very grateful for that.
It's also good because if you don't have to run so many groups, then they'll be better run, won't they?
There'll be less fertile voids being thrown about, won't there? And other such crass cliches. So that's that wrapped up, really. It just leaves us really to look at the Spotify search that I did for patience.
Patience.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Oh, hang on. Surely you've put on Patience of Angels, haven't you?
No.
Oh,
who's that by?
Well, Eddie Reader sang it, didn't she? But it was written by Boo Hewerdine.
Do you know? I did see that on there, and I did listen to it, but I haven't put it on there. Perhaps I should have done, as I know you're friends with Boo.
I thought you were going to be rude about him there.
Not at all. Not at all. No. I think it's a good track, but there was a lot to choose from. There was Patience by Guns N' Roses.
Oh dear, no.
Yeah, George Michael, the Lumineers, Shawn Mendes.
I don't mind the Lumineers. You
don't mind them?
No, all right. Some Lumineers stuff's okay.
Yeah, there's these are all just called Patience. There's a load to choose from. Tame Impala, which I quite like the name of the group. It's Low Roar. I quite like the name of that group.
Do you? I don't really like the name of that group. Sounds like the name you'd give to the band that you'd formed at school when you didn't really have any good ideas.
Yeah,
and then sort of 6 months later, when it's too late to change the name of your band, you're thinking, oh Christ, why did we call it Low Roar?
Yeah. Yeah, you probably or the name or ROAR is perhaps the initials of the people in the band. Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah,
exactly. Oh yeah, I suppose so. Yeah.
I think there's one by Chris Cornell, not Chris Quinnell, but Chris who you both know. Oh yeah, it's got a particularly good voice actually, as it happens. But Chris Cornell, the one I'm going for, which may surprise you, but it's Patience by Take That.
Oh, okay.
Does that surprise you?
It does moderately, but it's odd that you've chosen that, because when I was getting back to the car this morning, having walked the dogs, there was someone. It was very early. It was barely 8 o'clock, and there was someone sitting in the car park just waiting to go and play tennis, and he was playing. It was playing Take That in his car at volumes that seemed to me to be excessive.
Oh, right, okay.
So he's kind of rocking out to a bit of Take That on a Sunday morning.
I quite like some of I think some of the songs are quite well written.
Certainly very strong melodies.
Yeah, and I just like Patience. I've always liked it so perhaps back in the early part of our doing these episodes, it would have gone on to our guilty pleasures list. But
yeah. But you're not guilty about it, are you?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. We scrapped that idea because we don't feel guilty about liking tracks or bands that are not seem to be hip and cool.
Yeah. That's why you've no need to keep your fondness for American rock under wraps any longer.
Well, no, exactly right. And if it was kept under wraps, then that would be the case. But it certainly isn't. It's quite overt, my dislike for that genre. But thank you for bringing that up again. Now you've made me angry. I'm losing patience with you right now.
Go and listen to Take That.
I'm all right with that.
Gary Barlow will sort you out. You love Barlow.
On that note,
see you later.
Yeah. Okay, see you later. Be good.
Laters.
Bye.
Bye. Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandy-wellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.